Gale. How are we doing today, Laura?
I'm very well. Thank you, Bruce. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Where are you located? I'm in Toronto, Canada. Where are you?
Right now, I'm actually living in Lisbon in Portugal.
Oh, wonderful. Wow, I didn't realize that. Okay, well, welcome to the show. I don't think I've had anybody from Portugal on before, so that's great. I'm excited. Now you're a ghostwriter. What is ghostwriting? What is that when you say when someone says I need a ghostwriter or I'm a ghostwriter, what do you do?
So my job is to help my clients write books about themselves and their businesses. I work primarily with entrepreneurs who want to write a book about their journey into building their business and to becoming successful. Often they are at the stage where they're starting to think about their legacy and what they want to leave behind them. And I mean, often that process comes early in life. It doesn't have to be sort of an end of your career thing, but people are really thinking about the impact that they want to have in the world. And so writing is a really specific skill set, and it's not for everybody, although everybody has a story. And so my job is to help people get that story out in a way where the end product sort of matches their vision for what it is. And my skills kind of come into play there just by taking the story from conversations that we have together and then sort of translating that into a completed book.
Okay. Now, how did you become a ghostwriter? You were dressed good for Halloween, and you said, I'm a writer. I've done some ghostwriting as well, but tell us how did you get into to ghostwriting and writing? Were you an author before, or what happened?
Actually, I studied writing and publishing, and I got out of university and went straight into working at one of the big publishing houses. Worked there as a publicist for several years, which is kind of right at the end of the publishing process. And so it's all about the marketing and the publicity of the books. And eventually I decided that I wanted to strike out on my own. And so I started just doing content marketing and copywriting, taking sort of any writing work that I could get, basically. And a few clients, after hearing that I had worked in the publishing house, were like, oh, well, then you know how to do books. That's going to be easy for you. So let's just do a book. And I was sort of like, okay, sure, we can. And it kind of spiraled, well, I should say snowballed from there. It really took on a life of its own. And that was several years ago now. And I these days, I really only do books.
Okay. Now, do you focus on a certain type of genre? I do ghostwriting just for our business, though. My wife does English French translation, and I'm her ghostwriter. Now that people know that, and it's very hard. It's not easy. I've got 6 books out myself. I write articles all the time. I write for associations and stuff, but all based on me, but based on knowledge I already know, and mostly in the transportation industry. My wife, her English French, I struggle with that, like coming up with the content. And I know but I don't know enough. So do you focus on certain genres, or can you just write about anything as a ghostwriter?
So I think the thing here is that I don't want to be creating any of the material myself. I want all of it to be from the client. It's not, me trying to patch things in, based on my own research or based on, guesses. It's very much about having a really structured conversation with them and asking lots and lots and lots of questions so that at the end of those conversations, I've got more than enough material to fill a book.
Okay. So give us an idea of how the process works. Do you start out with conversation? Because a lot of people that would hire a ghostwriter are not writers themselves. So it's not like they're going to give you this manuscript that you kind of just need to clean up, and you need to get all the content. So give us an idea how the process might work from the time someone decides they need to hire you to the finished book, just the highlights, not every little detail.
Sure. So the first thing is to think about who your reader is. And, you really have to have a clear idea of who you're trying to reach with this book and what they want from you, what you're uniquely able to give to them. So having a really clear idea on who that reader is kind of a critical first step. And then having a really clear overarching thesis for the book, or you can call it a premise or a North Star or strategic intent. You want to have one big idea that you're working towards throughout the book, because that gives you a filter for what information needs to go in and what can be left out. So once you've got that in place, then you can start to build an outline. And I sort of think of this as the scaffolding or the skeleton of the book, the big points that you want to cover. Maybe there's 10 to 15 of those, and then you sort of break them down into smaller component pieces so that you can think about, okay, this is going to be a section in this chapter. This is the stories that we're going to include. Here's some research that we might need to do. So you sort of iterate down to a quite detailed plan for how you're going to put the book together. And then after that, we start interviewing. So I use that outline as a way to prepare questions for each of those chapters. I'll come to each call with, a dozen questions about the subject so that we can just talk through it and get everything out in a lot of detail, all of your insight and experience and your stories. I record those calls, and then at the end of that interview process, which we repeat for each chapter, I'll go away and turn all of that material into the draft. Then once that's completed, then we go to editing and kind of start getting it ready for publication.
Okay. And how do you keep it in their voice? I mean, if this person is really stern, it's a banker or something like that. Not saying all bankers are stern. I know a lot of them. But let's say there's somebody who's very serious. Would you try to do the book in there to come out serious the way they are? And then somebody like me who's totally not serious, you have to go do you try to do that? Or is that done through the interview process and you're transcribing that way?
Yeah, so I want it to be as much the client's voice as possible. And this is because usually, the entrepreneur has an existing audience who are used to hearing from them in a particular way. So I want it to be a consistent experience. I don't want a reader to go through the book and think, yep, this person sounds great, I want to work with them, and then get on the phone and discover that that person is the opposite of what they experienced in the book.
Not
really jarring.
Not a good way to do business, right?
No. So I really want it to be them. And obviously having the recordings makes that easy because you pick up on their little sort of verbal habits and, the type of language they use and their kind of tone. But there's a really structured way of thinking about this as well. And that's tone, vocabulary, and cadence. So these are the kind of things that I listen out for on those calls. Tone being, as you're saying, are they stern? Are they fun? Are they somewhere in between? Is it very academic? Is it very casual? Vocabulary is about the type of words they use. Are they, using very big, uncommon words, or are they using super, fifth grade language? Where do they kind of fall?
That's me. Don't worry.
And, in a lot of cases, that's a good thing. And then you've got cadence, and that's kind of the